My husband cheated with my daughter's 17-year-old best friend. I thought nothing could hurt more, until I found out he also slept with my best friend. But I didn't scream, didn't confront them. I planned and destroyed his entire life, piece by piece, right in front of everyone. I'm Megan Holloway, 35, a literature teacher at Willow Creek High School, a small town nestled in the heart of Montana. My life was once simple: a classic wooden house, a sweet teenage daughter named Chloe, and a husband, Ethan, whom everyone thought was the model man, going to work, coming home, loving his wife and child. Until one Thursday afternoon when I walked into the living room and saw Aubrey, Chloe's best friend, sitting cross-legged on our sofa while Ethan was massaging her knee. "She just twisted her ankle a bit," Ethan laughed, not looking at me. Aubrey smiled, a smile that felt a little too comfortable. I sensed something was off, but not the kind of off that makes you furious. It was the kind of gut feeling, like hearing someone's nails lightly scratch a window pane at midnight. The next week I paid closer attention. Ethan often came home late with a strange perfume on his shirt. Chloe also became irritable and distant with her dad, though they used to be inseparable. I asked a few questions and Ethan only said, "The project outside town, just a bit late." Chloe said nothing until the day she came home, threw her phone on the table, and screamed. "They're trying to hide it from us. I don't want to see Dad's face ever again." I was stunned. She was trembling with rage. On her phone screen was a message from Ethan. "You're the sweetest thing that's ever happened to me. I miss the taste of your lipstick." Below it was a selfie of Aubrey in Ethan's car, lips bright red, hair messy, shoulders bare. My heart felt like it was being crushed. I didn't know what to say. I only heard Chloe say, "I caught them yesterday at the parking lot. They were kissing, Mom." That night, I didn't cry, nor did I ask Ethan anything when he came home. I just looked at him and asked softly, "Did you love her?" Ethan froze. His face paled. That's when I knew every word that followed would just be excuses. "She's not even old enough to drink, Ethan, but old enough to sleep with my husband." Ethan stammered. I was weak. It was a mistake. Just once." I laughed. Not loudly, not hysterically. Just the laugh of a woman who realized she'd chosen the wrong man for 16 years. "You don't need to worry about what's next, because I'll handle it." I hugged Chloe, packed our things, and moved to my mom's house. But I didn't cry. I started reading law books, called an old college friend who's a lawyer, and prepared step by step to strip Ethan of the clean image he'd built for years. I didn't yet know that a second shock was waiting for me, when I discovered the next woman Ethan was seeing was Lena. Lena, my best friend for over a decade. I thought I'd hit rock bottom after the shock of Ethan cheating with Aubrey, my own daughter's best friend. But it turns out the bottom of betrayal isn't a place you hit and stop. It's a bottomless well. And I was free-falling. Chloe and I moved to my mom's house in the suburbs. The small house with just 2 bedrooms was a rare quiet amid the chaos. My mom cooked soup, wiped her granddaughter's tears, and kept me from losing my mind. But I knew I couldn't stay here forever. I needed to face Ethan, not to ask why, but to end it all, to clean up the mess he left behind. I returned to our old house on a Sunday afternoon. Ethan hadn't moved out. He was washing the car in the driveway, wearing an old t-shirt, his face showing no remorse. "Back to pick up something?" he asked, trying to sound normal. "Some papers and memories," I replied coldly. I went to the bedroom, searching for insurance documents, when a stack of photos fell from Ethan's drawer. Blurry selfies with an unfamiliar living room in the background. I saw a pillow with a red floral pattern, a gray leather chair. I knew that place. It was Lena's apartment. I froze. In one photo, Lena was leaning on Ethan's shoulder, wearing the wine-colored nightgown I'd given her last Christmas. Their arms intertwined, smiling naturally. Like a real couple. I stood frozen in the room where we'd slept together for over a decade, realizing Aubrey wasn't the first, and certainly not the last. I brought the photo out, placed it on the kitchen table. Ethan saw it, his face turning pale. "Explain," I said, not loudly, no tears, just a cold command. He looked around, like he was searching for air to breathe. "It happened after you and Chloe left." I was confused. "Lena, it comforted me." I scoffed. "This was taken 5 months ago, Ethan. The nightgown I gave Lena for Christmas, remember?" He went silent. Silent enough that I heard every piece of my self-respect shatter in my chest. I asked one final question. "How many more of my best friends have you betrayed me with?" Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it. Meaning what then? One. That night I drove to Lena's apartment. She wasn't home, but I didn't need to see her. I just needed to know. The person I'd trusted for over a decade, who held my hair when I vomited during pregnancy, who I'd shared my deepest secrets with, had slept with my husband. And still sent me goodnight texts every evening. Vague, dirty, perfect. The next day I met Mark, an old friend, now a divorce lawyer in the next town. I told him everything, left out no detail, when I mentioned Ethan sleeping with my daughter's best friend. Mark looked up at me, his eyes pausing for a few seconds. "Want me to represent you in the divorce?" I nodded, but then I added, "I don't just want a divorce. I want him to pay, to lose everything, not just his honor, but his career, money, reputation, and the trust of anyone who still thinks he's a decent man." Mark was silent for a few seconds, then said, "Ben, we need more than a divorce petition. We need a plan." I began building a plan to expose Ethan. I didn't want to confront him. I didn't need to curse. I didn't want to slap Lena or call Aubrey ugly names. I wanted everything to collapse at the right time, right place, right people, right way, so Ethan Holloway could never lift his head again in this town. And trust me, I would make it happen. Chloe was never an easy crier. Even as a child, she was stronger than me many times over. When Ethan's affair with Aubrey came to light, she didn't sob or scream like a typical 17-year-old. She went silent, turned off her phone, stopped eating, and 3 days later, she went to school like nothing had happened. But everything changed one June afternoon. I'd just gotten back to my mom's when I saw Chloe sitting at the dining table, hands trembling, holding a white envelope. The top corner read, "To my beloved daughter, Chloe." I asked, "When did you get this?" She didn't answer, just looked at me, then tore the letter to pieces, right in front of me. I was stunned. Chloe had never done anything like that. But then she spoke, her voice shaking with anger. "This'll fix everything. After what he did to me, to you, to our whole life, Mom, I'm disgusted by him." I squeezed her hand. "You don't need to forgive or read any excuses, because I won't let him ruin our lives one more time." That night, I opened my laptop, started creating an anonymous email account, downloaded recording software, and bought a tiny hidden camera online. I knew Ethan wouldn't stop. People like him, once they cross the line, there's a second time, a third, and it never ends until they're dragged into the light. I didn't want loud revenge. I wanted calm. I wanted Ethan unmasked before friends, neighbors, colleagues, before the court, before the daughter he once cherished. I started with Lena. She was still an accountant at the construction supply company where she'd gotten Ethan a job years ago. I went there, pretending to ask about a financial audit package for the school, and slipped a small recorder into my purse, left on during our talk. "Tired?" I asked lightly. "Long time no see. How have you been?" Whether, flatly. Same old, after your thing, I still feel guilty. I looked straight into her eyes. Was it worth it? She froze. I don't know. I didn't think Ethan was that kind of man. We just got close because we were both hurting. But now I see it's all a mess. I nodded, said nothing more. I installed secret cameras at home, living room and garage, because Ethan still had a key, and I wanted to know if he'd dare come back, and I was right. 3 days later, the camera caught Ethan sneaking in at midnight, rummaging through the kitchen drawer. He took nothing. Didn't call, didn't knock, just stood there, looking around. He didn't know he was being recorded. Didn't know every glance was now evidence. I sent the video to Mark, the lawyer. He watched and nodded. We've got a starting piece, now we just need the final blow. I smiled faintly. You haven't seen the final blow yet. After tearing up the letter, Chloe started journaling. I accidentally read a passage. I used to admire Dad. He taught me to drive, bake, and told me to protect myself. But it turns out, the one who needed protecting was him, not me. I read it and couldn't help but cry, the first time in weeks. Not because I was in pain, but because my daughter had lost the only male role model she'd ever trusted. I swore on everything I had left. I would restore her honor. And I would make Ethan Holloway answer to the eyes of this entire town. Because it was time for the monster disguised by a kind smile to be revealed. I still remember clearly, it was a Monday morning. Montana's sky was overcast, cold wind slipping through every gap in my coat, but I felt an odd calm. I sat in front of the computer, hands on the keyboard, the cursor blinked in the email address field, and I typed each character like someone cocking a gun. To board@alpinecontractors.net. Subject: regarding employee Ethan Holloway and conduct unfit for a company representative. I didn't write much, just a few concise lines, with a link to the video extracted from my home camera. Ethan sneaking into the house at midnight. I left one final line. I won't reveal my identity, but I believe your company should know your representative has been involved with a 17-year-old, the best friend of his daughter, still a student at Willow Creek High. Click. Send. In that moment, I knew it had begun. 2 days later, Lena called me. Her number flashed on the screen, and I let it ring 3 times before answering. Megan. Her voice was tiny. I need to ask you something. Did someone say anything to Ethan's company? I feigned ignorance. Hey, he's just been temporarily suspended. Someone sent an anonymous email to the board with a video of him entering your house at midnight. I stayed silent. She continued, trembling. And there was a line about the thing with Aubrey. How could anyone know? I smiled lightly. Yeah, how indeed. Then I hung up. I didn't need to say more. Lena was starting to panic. And that was just the first rung of the game. That evening I met Mark. He handed me the draft of the next plan. We'll file an official complaint about inappropriate conduct. No lawsuit needed, just timed right, aimed right. The school, the professional association, the PTA, each a drop of water until the glass overflows. I nodded. We'll start with Willow Creek High, where Aubrey studied, and where Chloe still has to carry her father's last name to school every day. The next day, I sent the second letter, this time to the principal of Willow Creek High. I sent it from a different email, with the subject, "A serious warning from a mother. Protect students from predators disguised as model fathers." Attached were screenshots of Ethan's messages to Aubrey, and a blurry clip from the phone Chloe had given me. I didn't need to say much, just one final line. This man still lives in town, and still attends school events like a normal parent. 4 days later, I heard Ethan was removed from the school's honorary PTA. An internal meeting was held. Chloe didn't go to school that day. She sat in her room, silent, but I saw her smile faintly when she read the news on Facebook. Holloway steps down from PTA after anonymous ethics complaints surface. I asked. You okay? Chloe looked at me, nodded. Mom's doing something right, and I want to see him lose everything. Ethan called me the next day. His number appeared, and this time, I answered. Megan, was it you? I stayed silent. You sent those things, didn't you? The video, the emails, the accusations. It was you, right? I sighed. I didn't need to do anything. You sowed your rotten seeds long ago. I just watered them to bloom. You're destroying my reputation. No, Ethan, you did that yourself. I just stood by and filmed it. That night, I printed every email, every photo, every piece of evidence, and taped them to the wall of the old bedroom. I called it the Wall of Justice. Each day, I'd mark a step forward. Company received email, suspended, PTA meeting, Bina starting to panic, Ethan calling to beg. I'd never felt such peace in my heart amid the storm I'd created myself. But I wasn't done. I was just getting started. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday. Chloe was asleep. My mom was reading in her room. I was on the sofa, wrapped in a blanket, holding a cup of ginger tea, and waiting for something I knew would happen. Ding dong. The doorbell rang just as I'd predicted. I opened the door, and there, under the broken yellow light of the porch, stood Lena. No makeup, eyes swollen, hair messy, thin coat trembling in the early winter wind, hand clutching her purse like it was the only thing keeping her from collapsing. Can I come in? Her voice was choked, pathetically weak. I opened the door, said nothing, but my right hand quietly turned on the recorder in the coat pocket by the door. She sat down, looking around the room she knew so well, the place where for years she'd played cards with me, ate dinners, hosted Chloe's birthdays. Now, it was a graveyard of our dead friendship. I know what's happening. Ethan's suspended, the company's investigating, even the school's starting to ask questions. Did you do all this? I smiled, softly. Why would you think it's me? She looked down, then broke. I'm sorry, Megan. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I was so weak. Ethan, he approached me, gentle, sweet, and I was stupid. She buried her face in her hands, cried. I didn't comfort her, didn't offer tissues. I just asked. Was it the first time, or were there others? Lena looked up, eyes red. 3 times, twice at my place, once at your house the night you took Chloe to summer camp. A dagger twisted in my heart, but my face didn't change. I quietly turned up the recorder's volume a bit. It said, he was suffering, that you didn't love him anymore, and I thought so too. I said slowly, and you thought betraying your friend of 15 years was the right way to comfort a suffering man? She bowed her head. I was wrong, completely wrong. But now I'm scared, Megan. I'm scared my career's over, scared I'll lose everything. I stood up, went to the kitchen, poured her a glass of water, not because I'm kind, but because I needed her to stay long enough for enough evidence. I won't do anything to you, Lena, but Ethan's different. She looked at me, half hopeful. What are you going to do? I set the glass in front of her, then said, voice calm like a rehearsed script. I'll let him burn himself down. I'm just the one standing by, with the gasoline. After Lena left, I saved the recording in 3 places, USB anonymous drive and a copy sent to Mark. In the email I wrote, voice evidence, third-party confirmation of Ethan and Lena's relationship. Time, 11:47 p.m., March 4. Next, prepare for public reveal. Mark replied in just 10 minutes. This will make Ethan undeniable. When ready, I'll send everything to the local paper, and if he sues back, perfect. We'll let the court handle it. Keep going. 3 days later, I sent an email to the PTA, anonymous, with a clip of Lena admitting her relationship with Ethan. That same afternoon, I heard Ethan was called urgently to meet school representatives. At the same time, Lena was suspended for 2 weeks to assist an internal investigation. Everything was falling into rhythm, steady. No need to shout, no need for confrontations, no need to pull strings. I was just tossing small pebbles at Ethan's glass mask to crack it, bit by bit, until it shattered. I sat in front of the computer, staring at the screen glowing in the quiet kitchen at 3 a.m. One hand held a cold coffee, the other moved the mouse, clicking public. The post was ready. I posted it on the Willow Creek Community Forum, where the whole town reads every morning like a tea-drinking habit. Title: The Truth About Ethan Holloway, the man once called town's ideal dad. Below, I wrote, I was Ethan Holloway's wife, and I have a duty to tell the truth no one dares touch. Ethan had a relationship with his daughter's best friend when she was only 17. He continued cheating with my best friend, Lena Moore. He sneaked into our house at midnight using sweet words to lure women who trusted him. I don't ask you to believe me, I only ask you to see with your own eyes. Below that, video from the security camera showing Ethan sneaking into the house at midnight. Screenshots of Ethan's ambiguous messages to Aubrey, Chloe's best friend. Audio of Lena admitting her relationship with Ethan and the timeline. A clip of Ethan arguing with me in the yard, where he denied everything, then said unforgivable things about his own daughter. At the end, I wrote, I don't need apologies. I don't need him to pay by law. But I want everyone, especially young girls, to know who hides behind the mask of a kind father in this community. I hit pause. Within 20 minutes, the post had over 300 shares. 1 hour later, 800 likes. 3 hours later, Ethan called me 9 times. I didn't answer. That morning, Chloe woke up, looked at me, then opened her phone. She read the post from A to Z, not blinking. Then she quietly stood, went to her room, changed into a black hoodie with the words, "Don't call me daughter." She stepped outside, grabbed her backpack and said, I'm going to school. If anyone asks, I won't lie. I'll say, he's no longer my father. I choked up, but prouder than ever. Meanwhile, at Ethan's company, the board called an emergency meeting. Someone secretly recorded Ethan walking into the office looking pathetic, tie askew, eyes panicked, hands trembling like he'd explode. The video was shared on TikTok with the caption, "The man once praised as Willow Creek's role model, now broken like a whiskey glass with no bottom." And Lena? She locked all her social media, took indefinite leave, and moved to her sister's in the next state. Before leaving, she sent me a 2,000-word email titled, I was wrong, but I can't bear this town's eyes anymore. I didn't reply. Not because I'm cruel, but because this fight wasn't about Lena. It was about Ethan. That afternoon, at the supermarket, I overheard 2 women talking near the dry goods aisle. One whispered, "Heard that Ethan guy even sent nude pics to his daughter's friend. Disgusting." "Yeah, saw the video? God, thought that stuff only happened in movies, not in our town." I didn't join in, just walked by, quietly. Because I didn't need to say more. The community would do the rest. That evening, Chloe placed a letter in front of me. I asked, what's this?" I wrote a petition to change my last name. I froze. "To what?" "Whitman. Your name. Ethan Holloway doesn't deserve to have his name on my birth certificate." When Ethan tried to explain himself on Facebook, posting that he was framed, someone set him up, within 10 minutes, people started dropping laugh emojis and comments like, "Oh, so the video of you sneaking into your ex-wife's house at 2 a.m. was deepfake, huh?" New definition of framed: cheating twice and getting caught. Old man trying to play victim now. Ethan deleted the post, locked comments, but it was out of his hands. The news came Monday morning at exactly 9:13 a.m. Mark sent me a 6-word text. "He's out. Official termination." I opened the attached email, a copy of the disciplinary decision from Alpine Contractors. Termination of Ethan Holloway's employment contract due to serious ethical violations and negative impact on company reputation. Below, in italics, effective immediately. No compensation, no reference letter. I didn't smile, didn't feel the ecstatic joy I'd imagined. I just closed my eyes and exhaled, like I'd finally lifted a heavy stone off my chest after years. Chloe was different. When I told her, she looked at me, raised an eyebrow. That's it? I nodded. Hild lost his job, his honor, everything he thought he controlled. Chloe didn't smile, but she stood, walked to the fridge, grabbed a soda, popped it open with a pop, and raised it like a champagne glass in victory. Cheered. 3 weeks later was graduation. Chloe was honored as the top art student of her class. Her painting, a woman standing amid ashes holding a red match, was chosen to hang in Willow Creek High's main hall. The ceremony was at the school gym, packed with people. Stage lights shone on each graduate stepping up to receive their diploma. With a short introduction, Chloe's turn came. The announcer said loudly, "The award, the Breakthrough Art Student Award, we honor Chloe Whitman." I choked up. No longer Chloe Holloway. No longer the name of a betrayer. Just my name. Her own. Chloe stepped onto the stage. Black gown, hair tied high, eyes shining bright. She took her diploma, bowed, and looked down at me. Her eyes said, "Mom, we've made it through." After the ceremony, we took photos in the schoolyard. I hugged her, and for the first time since discovering that horrific truth, I felt free. No more pain, no more resentment, just a bit of regret. Regret for the years I'd lived beside a man I didn't truly know. That afternoon, while washing dishes in the kitchen, Chloe walked in, placed an envelope on the table. I sent the official petition to change my name on my birth certificate. And Mom, I want us to change our phone numbers. Erase his completely. If he calls, I don't want to know. I don't want to hear. I nodded. Didn't ask why. Just gently placed a hand on her shoulder. I'll do it tomorrow. That night I stepped onto the porch. Montana's breeze was soft, stars sparse. I opened my phone, found Ethan's last call, and hit delete. I opened the photo album, picked the only picture left, our wedding photo from years ago. I looked at it one last time. Him in a black tuxedo, me in a white dress, hands clasped, smiling brightly. I didn't feel pain anymore, just unfamiliarity. Goodbye, stranger. I pressed delete. Forever. It was a fall afternoon. Montana's sky streaked with silver-gray clouds like worn wool. Chloe and I were driving to check out a college art exhibit, stopping at a small roadside diner known for the region's hottest apple pie. The diner was quiet, just a few wooden tables, soft yellow lights, the faint smell of coffee and cinnamon in the air. Chloe went to the bathroom. I sat alone, pulling out a book to read a few pages. Then I saw a familiar figure. Head bowed, scruffy beard, sunken eyes, worn coat fraying at the shoulders, hand trembling slightly, holding a paper coffee cup. Ethan, sitting alone, in the far corner, unnoticed by anyone, and I almost didn't recognize him, if not for the familiar slouch of his shoulders, the ones that lay beside me for nearly 20 years. I meant to ignore him, but his eyes lifted and met mine. For a split second, time froze. Ethan didn't smile, didn't stand, just nodded. I slowly stood, walked toward him. "Hello, Ethan." "Megan." His voice was hoarse, like he hadn't spoken kindly to anyone in a long time. "You live here?" I asked. "Not really. I work odd jobs at a cattle ranch up north. Clean stalls, fix fences, sleep in my car. Guess it's karma." I said nothing. Ethan looked at me quietly. "Chloe, is she okay?" I nodded. She just got a full art scholarship. She's painting a series called Loss and Rebirth. He smiled faintly, but sadly, like her mom. Stronger than I ever thought. I looked into his eyes. No fire left, no pride, just a man who'd lost everything, and knew he deserved it. I pulled out my wallet, took the cash receipt from my table. "I'll pay for your coffee." Ethan looked up, surprised. "No need." I placed the receipt on his table. "I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it so I know I've closed this chapter. I forgive, not because you deserve it, but because I don't want to carry you in my heart anymore." He froze. I walked away, didn't look back. When I returned to my table, Chloe was back. "Where'd you go, Mom?" I just smiled lightly. Paid for a stranger who needed it. That afternoon, as our car drove south, I glanced in the rearview mirror, where the hills behind us faded away. I didn't see Ethan anymore. Nor did I feel anger, resentment, or pain lingering. Just peace. One early May morning, I received a strange letter, no postmark, no return address. Firm handwriting, but ink smudged in places. Addressed to Megan Whitman. I opened it. "Megan, I don't hope for forgiveness, nor expect anything from you or Chloe. I just want to send a final word. I've lived like a lost man these past 2 years. No home, no family, no purpose. Every night I lie in my car staring at the stained ceiling and think, I destroyed something too beautiful, too rare. I lost everything. And I should have. But I didn't lose the lesson. I've learned the cost of betrayal, not the punishment from others, but the feeling of no longer being worthy to look into my own eyes. Chloe doesn't need to see me again, but if one day she holds an exhibit, please tell her, your father once stood outside the gallery, too ashamed to enter, but he saw, and he cried. Goodbye, Ethan Holloway. I folded the letter. Didn't cry, just felt something in my heart, lighter. Not because Ethan deserved forgiveness, but because I was no longer bound by anger. 3 months later, Chloe had her first solo exhibit at a small gallery in Missoula. Theme, Rebirth Through Ashes. I stood in the white room, surrounded by paintings of burning, red, black, gray, vibrant and fierce like her youth. At the center was the largest, a girl standing on a ruined house, holding a matchbox, face free of tears, only light. I heard someone whisper, "Who painted that?" Another replied, "Megan Whitman's daughter, the girl who lost her dad in that town-shaking scandal years ago." I said nothing, just smiled. Because now we didn't need to explain. A few weeks later, I ran into David, a widower from the neighborhood. He grew daisies in his backyard, gave me cookies every holiday, and played acoustic guitar in the evenings. That time, I was walking the dog when David invited me to his porch to hear a new song he'd written. I laughed. "I'm no good at judging music." David replied, "Just listen, music doesn't need judging, it needs feeling." We sat there nearly an hour, not talking much, just sitting, listening to music, and I realized it'd been so long since I felt such peace. A few months later, I officially invited David to join me and Chloe at her second exhibit, this time in Seattle. David held my hand in the airport. Chloe saw, winked. "Finally," I replied. "Yeah, but not because I needed someone. Because I'm strong enough to let someone in without fear of breaking." The night before flying to Seattle, I stood in Chloe's room, watching her pack. "Do you still hate your dad?" Chloe shook her head. "No hate, but no memory either." I stepped forward, hugged her from behind. "You've overcome it." Chloe smiled. "You too."